the fourth plenary lecture is by Professor Sohail Firdaus, Department of Geography, Sikkim Central. I request all of you to please come up on the stage and grace the chair. The session will be presided over by Professor Vishwamar Prasad Sati, Senior Professor, Department of Geography and Resource Management, Mizoram University, Aizawl. Now we would like to felicitate our Honorable Professor Sarfaraz Alam, Department of Geography, Institute of Science, Banaras Hindu University. First we would like to felicitate the session will be presented by Professor Vishwamar Prasad Sati. So we will like to felicitate Professor Vishwamar Prasad Sati, the Senior Professor of Department of Geography and Resource Management, Mizoram University, Aizawl. Please put a big round of applause. Professor Vishwamar Prasad Sati. Now our first esteemed guest, the plenary lecture 1 will be delivered by Professor Sarfaraz Alam. To felicitate Professor Sarfaraz Alam, Department of Geography, Institute of Science, Banaras Hindu University. Please put a big round of applause for him. Our second distinguished guest is Professor Ranjan Roy, Department of Geography and Applied Geography. Sir is most probably is busy with some other work. So our third esteemed guest, the plenary lecture 3 will be delivered by Professor AKM Anwar Uzzaman from Department of Geography, Alia University, Kolkata. Please put a big round of applause and we heartily welcome Professor AKM Anwar Uzzaman, and we take the opportunity to felicitate our distinguished guest. Thank you so much, sir. Now, the fourth plenary lecture will be delivered by Professor Sohail Firdaus, who is from the Department of Geography, Sikkim Central University. We would like to felicitate Professor Sohail Firdaus. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much the students and scholars of Department of Geography and Applied Geography, University of North Bengal. Now, I would like to hand over the session to the son of the plenary session, Professor Vishwamar Prasad Sati, Senior Professor of Department of Geography and Resource Management. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon to all of you. This is the first plenary session we have now after this inaugural session. And we have with us, though it is listed for those will deliver plenary lectures, but we have only 3 remaining here. So sir, 15 minutes benefit is there because one resource person is not there, but we have already half hour past. So no problem, I will never ask you to, so we have, because we are, so we have 15 minutes each. I will not reduce and increase, but you take your time. And also I will not take much time. So now I invite the first speaker, Professor Sarfaraz Alam, Geography Institute of Institute of Science, Banaras University, Uttar Pradesh, and his topic of presentation is production of indigenous geographical knowledge through participatory rural appraisal This floor is yours, sir.
So you just sit. The table after that. Today you have the no. That will be tomorrow. Maybe you have the report here, right? Yes.
Sir. Sir, sir.
ऑपरेट कोई भी एखान থেকে नेक्स्ट एक्सपोर्ट ওটা দিকে বলবে হ্যাঁ হয়ে গেল এই এই কৃষ্ণ হ্যাঁ বিক্রম 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 দীপকদা ও দীপকদা মানে রোদ্দুর লাগছে এখানে চলে আসি
Okay, thank you. At the very outset, I would like to thank Department of Geography and Applied Geography, North Bengal University, for inviting me to share my thoughts on a very pertinent topic on GI tags. Honorable Chairperson of the session, Professor Sati, panelists, Professor Anurag Jama and Professor Sohail Firdaus, participants from different parts of India, research scholars, students, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be speaking on the topic production of indigenous geographical knowledge through participatory approach, or you can say participatory rural appraisal. Now, so let's start with the very basic things about geography. When we say geography is about writing and representing the earth, we describe the earth in words and we represent the earth graphically. However, the way the earth or the world has been described and represented, it has some problem. And the problem is that it has Eurocentric influence. The way the earth has been described and analyzed or represented, it has a Eurocentric influence. That means that the indigenous knowledge and perspective have been very marginalized, and this is despite the fact that indigenous people occupy almost every regions of the world, and particularly they occupy geographical spaces which are extreme in the sense that you have indigenous people living in the deserts, tropical rainforest, and mountainous regions, as well as in the polar region. So it means they have been living there, surviving there, they have been interacting with their environment. They are also creators of knowledge, and despite that, their point of view, their perspective have been totally ignored in the geographical discourse. And the reason is that the power, that is particularly those countries and those civilizations which have been historically very powerful, they have used geographical space as a tool as well as a wheel to suppress the knowledge of people who are historically on the margin. The knowledge created by people who have been living historically on the margin. And who are the people? The indigenous people are not only geographically on the margin. When I say they are geographically on the margin, that means they are living in areas which are ecologically very, very tough to live, what we call difficult geographical environment. And also they are socially and intellectually on the margin. So European colonizers during the colonial period and during the post-colonial period, and subjugated their own indigenous people. So, what would be more interesting to mention here is that the Europeans, they try to construct binaries through which they saw the world. So one binary was the temperate and the tropical region. The other binary was people living in the temperate region and the tropical region. The other binary was people who are civilized and civilized. So such binaries, so let us see what they had to say about the indigenous people. So according to European ways of thinking, indigenous people were considered illiterate, indolent, lazy, uncivilized, barbaric, immoral, and they have fossilized culture. And the geographical areas in which they were living, and they were living, as I told you, in extreme geographical conditions. They are still living in those extreme geographical conditions. And these regions are typically depicted as land of horrors, dangerous land which are not ideal for the development of, or for the physical growth of human beings, for the intellectual growth of human beings, for the development of art, for the development of aesthetics, technology and philosophy. So this was the kind of depiction of the area where the indigenous people were living. Now the clock has turned over. In the event of global climate change, what is happening is that the very model of Western rationalist positivist framework of looking at the world is under question, because the industry-based civilization has created a condition where the very survival of the earth is at risk. So there are problems to climate change, and now the entire world is talking about alternative ways of development. And now we are again going back to the same illiterate, immoral, unethical people, those people who are lazy, those people who are indolent. So now scholars and the government all over the world are advising the people and development managers to model which have been there. What explains no energy, source of energy, despite that, there are people living in igloos in the areas which are very, very cold, like polar areas. So despite limited technology, the people have learned to live without destroying their environment, without creating any harm to the environment. So in this backdrop, I would like to say that in recent times, there has been growing recognition of how important the indigenous knowledge system is for the academia, and now is paying attention to marginalized voices. They are studying everyday experiences, and they are also studying the power relations which are between powerful people and those who are not so powerful. And as a result, these developments are actually for the development of indigenous perspective and methodology to not only describe the world but also to map the world. Now, I would like to, talking about indigenous geographies, I would like to say that there are three ways of looking at the indigenous geography. Now, first thing is that indigenous geographers, they try to focus their research on alternative world, the world which has been discarded, the world which has not been touched, the world which is on the margin, the world which is on the side. And the second, they also propose alternative ways of seeing the world, alternative ways of knowing the world. And thirdly, there is also a sort of commitment for fostering emancipatory politics and progressive emancipatory politics plus progressive socio-spatial change. So these are the three broader themes around which indigenous geographical research takes place. Now, first thing, let us try to understand what kind of knowledge or what kind of alternative world indigenous geography talks about. They talk about a world which is historically marginalized and subjugated. They talk about a world where people living there have developed a very intimate and deep connection with their environment, and they have been living there for generations and generations without destroying the delicate balance between the people and the environment. And it also recognizes indigenous geography, also what we call indigenous geography also recognizes that culture of people, their identities, their languages, and their worldviews are derived from their intimate connection with their places. So indigenous geography is place-bound geography. And they also examine the disruptions and the adverse impact that the colonial policy and also the so-called policy of national states have on the life and livelihood and habitat of these people. And finally, they articulate the efforts by indigenous people. You know, there are movements everywhere in Amazonia or in Andaman Nicobar Island and in Red Indians, Amerindians and black people. I mean, everywhere, you know, there are movements by indigenous people against their own, against the corporate loot of their resources and their spaces. So, the indigenous geography study efforts of indigenous communities to regain rights to their land and resources, to regain management and assert self-determination. So everywhere there is a movement by indigenous people against their own government and also against the corporate loot of their resources and habitat. And the second, as I told you, aspect of this indigenous alternative ways of knowing the world. This is very important, you know, because knowledge, there is politics of knowledge creation, you know. How the Western scholars, the colonial scholars have depicted the world, they have depicted the world from their own perspective. They have depicted the world so that they can see the world and exploit the world and use the world according to their conveniences. So indigenous geography is an alternative ways of knowing a space and place. It calls for understanding or unraveling or unmasking existing asymmetry power relationship between the developed and the developing world and also the fourth world. And feel that there is, whenever we talk about production and reproduction of knowledge and geographical knowledge, there is always power relations. Who's creating knowledge? Knowledge is being created for whom? This idea has to be understood. And they also question, and this is very important from the point of view of geography students, you know, they question the politics of representation of the space. We all are map makers. We make maps, beautiful maps which depict the earth. It is through these maps that we enter and see the world. So, however, this map is created with a certain framework so as to sustain existing unequal power relations in the world. That thing we have to understand. And then third, in view of this, since both description and representations are unequal and therefore non-judicious, therefore they call for a commitment to foster emancipatory policies to bring about transformative socio-spatial change. And they believe that it is better, it is always possible. You know, human beings are the ones who are believer in ideas, and they believe that it is possible to make this world a better place. And what would be a better place? They imagine of a world which is just, which is non-exploitative, which is equal, and which is sustainable. So this belief is there, this strong belief is that we can always change this world. And the politics of changing this world is very much intimately connected to politics of understanding the world. So unless and until you understand the power relations in the very process of production of knowledge, you will not be able to counter their views, and in the process you will not be able to create a narrative that can bring changes in the society. So, they do believe that we can still claim and reclaim their land and resources. So with this, now I'll come to discuss about how much time do I have? Sir? Okay. Now I'll take 5 minutes maybe. So can we show the first map, first slide? Okay. The second. Now look at this map. I hope all of you can see, and please look at this is a correct map. You are a student of geography. Can you tell me, is this a correct map? You must be a little puzzled this inverted map, but cartographically it is absolutely a perfect map. There is no problem in this map. So this is all about perspective, the way of looking at the world. So while the colonizers, the West, those who created the map, they put North on the top because all the European countries and America is on the top, you know. But if you create a map where the South is on the top, there is no problem in it. Cartographically, we can do it. So this is a way of questioning the spatial imagery of the world. You can always question the spatial imagery of the world. That imagery has been created so that they can psychologically and have control over the countries of the South. Now can you show the next slide? Now look at this map. This is the artist map, you know. So this map, you know, is showing that there are few companies, you know, though cartography is not a correct depiction, but this map is much more important than a cartographical map. That thing we have to understand. So there are few companies like Monsanto, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Coco. These are the companies that are controlling the entire resources in a spaces of the world, particularly North and South America. You know, so this is a kind of protest map. This is also a map which you can call a map which can make us understand how the world is working, who is controlling the world, and for whom. What is the source of origin of all these companies? And next map, can you show? Now this is another interesting map. Again, this is not a cartographically correct map, but this map can reveal what cartographically correct map can never reveal. So this is a map of the world according to how America views the world. Now we are in the age of Donald Trump, you know. Now he is dismantling all the institutions of the world. He is not afraid of, he is trying to reshape the world according to what he would like to see the world. So this is the Donald Trump idea of the world, you know. This is Donald Trump's way of looking at the world, where America is depicted as a huge continent, and in the eyes of American ruling elite and corporate, all other parts of the world, you can see how a small South Africa is depicted, how a small Iceland, Africa is depicted, you know. So this is what I'm trying to see. This is also a spatial imagery. The cartographer, as a budding geographer and cartographer, you can imagine and re-imagine, question and re-question the way the world has been reorganized. the world can be reorganized so that it can be just and useful world. This is how the world look like. Now I will show you the last slide, sir. Last. Now there is a very interesting project. This is based on an article published in NT4 in 1995, and the writer is Nancy Lee Peluso. So there is an island in Indonesia, Kalimantan, and there is a state of Indonesia, and there are indigenous people. Now indigenous people live in their territory, Kalimantan, that is very rich in natural resource, forest resource particularly, and there is a state, and there is planners, state-backed planners and managers. Now they created a map where the entire Kalimantan has been shown as a forest resource that can be used and utilized for the development of the country. Now what the tribals did, they prepared their own maps, showing their own idea of geographical space, their own idea of forest resources, and they documented and established boundary between forest and external claimants, that this is our land and beyond that it is not our land. And by creating that map, they were able to change the view of Indonesian state regarding the forest right of those people. So what I am trying to say is, though map has been historically used to subjugate people, but map has great potential to bring about transformative socio-spatial change. Map has a great potential to shape the world, a world which can be more just, a world which is more equal, a world which is non-exploitative, a world which is non-subjugative. So with these, I will stop here. What I would, in the final analysis, I would say that, when we talk about knowledge, knowledge is not only produced in universities and labs. Knowledge is also in farms and in the fields. So when we talk about creating knowledge, producing knowledge, we have to be very sensitive. Knowledge of the farmers and the forest dwellers, fishermen, they have created knowledge. Their knowledge is more experiential, and because of those 1,000 years of experiences, they have been able to live a sustainable life. However, the world that we live in, which is based on production and consumption model, you produce more so that people will consume more, and that will take us to a situation where we will not be able to revert back. Now it is the time to look at the world in the way the indigenous people of the world has been living and staying. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you very much, sir, for your very enlightened presentation. And you had to speak more, but because of the paucity of time, and we have already added one new presenter, Professor Sanat Kumar. He will replace Professor Roy. So we are now again in constraints. Anyway, thank you very much for very good presentation. And I will now call upon Professor A.K.M. Anwar sir. He is from Department of Geography, Aliyah University, Kolkata, and his topic of presentation is Geographical Indication and Geographical Bounty. Yes, place matters. So sir, through is yours. Your time is 15 minutes and rest on you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected chairperson of this session, my co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I am really feel privileged to be here to speak in front of you. and I am thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Now you can see the title that I am going to present, GI tag, a geographical bounty. So when we talk about geographical tag or geographical indication used as a tag, so that very word geography is there. So there is no doubt about it. Now what I will do, sir, I will be having like 3-4 sections of my presentation. In the first section, I will be trying to make it contextualize. If you have carefully listened to my speaker as well as the chairperson's keynote address, they have actually made my job quite easy. So let me summarize my presentation in the greater ambit of the seminar. I would say that you can view the human society developing in different stages. If I call first stage to be an egalitarian society, the earliest form of the human civilization, when there was no division of labor, there was no dominancy. Everyone was equal. So the clutch of everyone on the earth resources or the ownership of earth resources, everyone has equal bounty. But as the society developed and progressed over a period of time, we are having different type of dominancies developed. So after the egalitarian society, I am viewing it broadly, I am not going to very minute changes in the society. The second stage, you are having a stage of development of dominance in the society, and that dominancy used to be the muscle power. So one section of the society or some people having dominancy over others using muscle power and certain kind of rudimentary form of weapons like the sword and all those things. So one group of people having dominancy on others, that means there are something like differential ownership of the resources. Some people are having greater claim and some people are having lesser claim because you are weak muscle power wise. Now as the society develops further, since you have this type of division, more powerful and less powerful, so more power are owning more resources, and as a matter of fact they are having accumulation of wealth with them. So the next stage of dominancy may be termed as dominancy of money. Egalitarian society, you came to the dominancy of muscle or muscle power. From muscle power you are coming to dominancy by money. So you are having more capital, you are having more money, so you can purchase, you can bribe people, and you can have hold of everything. What you can see today in many parts of the world. Adani can own everything because he has got money. Okay, so that stage it comes. Now this particular stage, the money power stage, this stage almost coincides with the development of colony. Throughout the world, you had development of colony, and then Europeans having dominancy on Asian countries and South African countries, and then South American countries, that is the Latin American country. So exploitation of resources because of this money power that you are having, that leads to further another step of societal development where the knowledge becomes the more powerful. So it becomes the dominancy of knowledge. Okay, so from egalitarian society to muscle power to money power, now you are coming to the stage where the knowledge will dominate. Now in this context, I would like to mention the name of our great philosopher and scientist, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He is saying that the 21st century will be dominated by knowledge. And he is saying that we used to have primarily 2-3 ingredients of products, like the land you require, labor you require, and require capital. And he is saying that when it is 21st century, The dominancy is going to be of knowledge. So it is the knowledge century. If you are not having knowledge, then you will be downgraded, you will be backward, and your importance will not be registered as it will be with the people who are knowledgeable. Now, why I am saying so? Because when you talk about the geographical indication, it is related to the indigenous knowledge. My friend Sarfaraz has rightly said that all over the world there are tussles between the ruler and the subjects. The indigenous people everywhere are facing different type of onslaughts. They are being threatened, their land has been, being captured, they are being removed from the forest land. So this type of development, this type of incidents are happening almost near throughout the world, including our own beloved country. Now, when we talk about this knowledge, I will be incorporating skill also as part of knowledge. Okay? Now, we can view two types of cultural heritage, which is essentially associated with the GI tag products. Okay? One is material culture, and then another is non-material culture. Okay? Non-material culture are intangible, material culture are tangible. So far the GI tags are concerned, we are having all the products. If you see the, excuse me, slowly progress. So if you see the list of the products, you will be finding GI tag products. It is part of our material culture. Today we are having roughly 644 products, be it agricultural, natural, food stuff, handicraft, whatever. Nearly 644 products are have got the GI tag. Out of that, we are having roughly 22 from West Bengal, and from my own district, Malda district, we are fortunate to have 3. Okay, all these are material cultural product, I will say. But then, apart from material cultural product, we are having a host of products which are intangible and kind of regional development. You talk of regional development, you talk of economic development that you can do through your material culture application, and you can say harnessing the material culture. You can do it from the non-material culture, the intangible culture also. So just think of it. Let's say I am going to propose that the Am Papad or Am Shakto can have GI tag for Malda. Okay, fine. So 1 kg of Am Shakto might be costing, let's say, 400 rupees, 500 rupees. But just think of a person, let's say Birju Maharaj, or let's say Bismillah Khan, singing, dancing and making some art craft, performance art. It involves millions of dollars. And it is possible that in future years to come, that also will be having some kind of GI tag and somebody else might be claiming it. I believe that all of you know that we are having at least 2 examples rightly available to us when there was tussle between USA government and India government. Because there is a company called Rice Tech. They claimed that Basmati is their product. Okay, Basmati is their product. And unfortunately, we didn't have very strong ground to prove, no, it is not your product, it is our product. There is a Basmati village near Dehradun. And the rice is very typical to that place. Okay, so fortunately we got that, we won the battle. Similarly, the Rashogolla between Odisha and West Bengal. And you probably knowing Rashogolla has 2 types of Rashogolla. For one Rashogolla, Odisha got the geotag. For another type of Rashogolla, we got the geotag. So what Professor APJ Abdul Kalam is saying, that 21st century is going to be dominated by knowledge. If you do not have control over the traditional knowledge that you have developed for centuries together, if you are not documenting it properly, and if you are not putting in front of the world that this is our own knowledge, somebody else will be snatching you, they will be taking out from you, and they will be getting benefit of all those, indigenous knowledge. Now, coming to the significance, though chairperson has already told about the significance of GI tag, but I would like to point out 1 or 2 points here. GI is very much required because, and it is significant because, a product, be it cultural type of culture or non-material type of culture, the development of that product or cultural output has got very strong relationship with the geography. And when I geography, I say that I would like to say that the ingredients that you draw from the nature, for let's say the ampapod or amsatto that I said, so the mango that is produced in Malda district, sorry, I thought that I am being instructed. Okay, so please ask them to lower down a little more. So when you are using ingredients for, let's say, production of amsatto, so you are using the mango pulp, you are using, let's say, water, you are using other ingredients to produce this amsatto. So the geography related to Malda, the type of soil, is very different from others. So the ingredient is being derived from the nature. Similarly, under a particular type of weather condition or the climatic condition, whatever you say, that is typical to Malda. And then the skill development that takes place, that is also related, this is also not devoid of your geography. So ultimately the ingredients that you are having in terms of materials as well as the input coming from the climate and the skill or knowledge that I am talking about again and again, combined those things, you are getting the output, be it material culture or non-material culture. So since it is originated, nurtured and developed through many centuries in a particular geographical area, that geographical area should get the advantage of that particular product. Okay, so can you go to, yeah, please slowly move. Please slowly move. Is it not moving? Okay, slowly move. Slowly move. Okay. Go to the previous one. Yeah. So, since the seminar title talks about the GI tag products of West Bengal, so I have taken few examples from Malda district, where already GI tags are already available. So these 3 varieties of mango we are having geotag. But then there are quite a few products which, as per my own view and my own understanding, there are quite a few material cultural products, or you can say agricultural products and all, which can have, the next, which can have geotag. Next please. Yeah. These are the few things I am proposing so that we should have the geotag. So one is the Malda Makhna. Makhna is a product of hydrophyte. So if you have seen it, I don't know, many people you may have seen. It is produced in the Tal region of Malda, and it is so rich in, nutrient rich, particularly the protein rich, but absolutely there is no fat. So if you eat this particular product, you will be healthy and there will be no problem of cholesterol and all. There is little bit problem, I can tell you, that there is Mithila variety of Makhna which has already been given geotag. So that problem is there. So my proposal would be, when Rasgulla can have 2 tags for and West Bengal, similar way, since the Tal region is having very good production and processing of Makhna, we can probably also claim. Similar to the Amsatto. So all of you can remember the Ravi Thakur's Amsatto Dudhe Feli. So that particular product, the Amsatto that we have at in Malda district, it is unique in taste and quality. Similarly, we are having this Nawabganj Begun Brinjal. I will show the photographs, though the photographs are not taken by myself. I have to accept it. I have taken from some social media, some popular media, because I didn't have really time to go there and take the photograph. I accept it, but I will show the photograph. Since I am from Malda district, I am showing only those things which are I am very sure about it. Though I have taken from different media, it is like reality. And then similarly, this puff or bhater khoi. Anyone from Malda district will be knowing there is a place called Fulbadi. If you go to old Malda, you will be getting this variety of brinjal. You probably will be surprised to know one piece of brinjal may weight even 2 kg. 2 kg one brinjal. And it is much more expensive than other variety of brinjal, and the taste is also very good. And people believe, locally there is a belief that the Nawabs or the rulers and Adina and Pandua, during particularly the Muslim rule, they used to relish this variety of brinjal, and because of that it is known as Nawabganj brinjal. This is one version, but other this particular variety of brinjal is grown most profitably in an area known as Nawabganj. That Nawabganj is located in Old Malda police station. Next please. Next please. Yeah, this Amshapto. Next. This is Bhater Khoi that I told you. So prove it right now here, but then there is a scope. At least some people will work on it to prove that these things have been originated in Malda district and they should claim the right. Though India government as of today do not have system of this allotting GI tag to cultural heritage, but this is my proposal that we should work in this direction so that the cultural heritage are also protected. Otherwise, there will be a day when Nawabganj district of Bangladesh will be claiming that Gombhira is our like product, okay? Because Gombhira is practiced in Bangladesh Nawabganj district also. Similarly, the Mukha dance, Domni dance, and Jharni dance. And if you see the distribution of I mean what we believe as the origin, center of origin of all these intangible cultures and the practicing region, you will be finding these are very, very intimately related to the local geography. This Gombhira dance is practiced only along the Ganga river, the riverine region of Ganga river, which is popularly known as Diada region. Okay. Similarly, the other art form, other intangible cultural heritage are also related to different geographical regions. Next, please. Now, slowly you can move. These are the different, yeah. Okay. Now, until and unless we move in this direction to document properly our cultural heritage and the material cultural products, it won't be possible probably to make them survive and get the benefit of economic benefit for the regional development. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah. Now, what we can do probably, there is an organization known as INTAC, Indian National INTAC. Cultural heritage, but the T I am forgetting. I am forgetting the full form. This is INTAC, that is related to cultural heritage. Okay. What they have done is, they have already, yes.
Traditional art and culture.
Traditional art and culture. Yeah. Indian National Traditional Art and Culture, International Council for traditional art and culture. Okay. So that organization has already developed a cultural heritage information system, but those are related to the historical sites. So what I propose is that we should have something like this. Some our researchers can work on this line so that we can have this cultural heritage system or cultural heritage information system where we'll be having all these databases. There will be interactive, there will be scope of interaction, management of data and display of data, so that there will be a proper document and other people will not be in a position to claim or put any kind of claim in that. Next please. There are, you can move further. Okay, go to the previous slide. One slide is somehow missing. So there are publications also about. The first one is related to this. There is a publication where you are having this design of cultural heritage information system based on information layers. So already there are some examples, but those are basically the architectural cultural heritage they are preserving, and they have developed the cultural information system. So my humble submission is some new researchers, the energetic researchers will be coming, who will be advocating through their research publications, so that we are having this well documentation of all these cultural heritage, be it material culture or intangible cultural heritage, so that our regions from where these have been developed can get the economic benefit, and thereby there will be regional development. Thank you sir for giving me this opportunity. Have I completed within time? Sorry sir.
So thank you, sir, Professor Anwar, for the good presentation. And because time is always constant, and I am very poor chairperson, so I never disturb the presenters. Let them to present. Anyway, so now the last presentation is from Professor Sohail Firdaus from Department of Geography, Sikkim Central University, and his topic is harnessing natural resource capital for sustainable livelihood and prosperous communities. And please come, sir, and the floor is yours. Time is 15 minutes, rest on you.
That will be good. Good afternoon, respected chair of the session, Professor Bisogul Sati, my co-panelists, Professor Sarfraz Alam, Professor A.K.M. Anwar Sama, all the distinguished resource persons and participants in this seminar. Let me begin my presentation with a personal note. I'm really grateful to Department of Geography of University of North Bengal, and particularly Dr. Indrajit for having me here in this interesting seminar. So what I wish to do in this particular presentation is I'll be talking about harnessing natural resources for sustainable livelihoods. What in fact we know that whenever we are talking about resources, it's extremely important that we take note of both production and consumption, and unless the country like ours puts its effort in terms of how to organize this, I think it's very daunting challenge to attain Viksit Bharat. If you want to have Viksit Bharat, we need to have proper usage of resources. Similarly, when you talk about GI tag that is assigned to any of the products, then what once again we know is that the products that are being basically talked about, or the product that have already got GI tag, is coming from the nature. And unless we can take care of the nature the way it is, unless we can basically have the proper state of the resources, it may not be possible for us to sustain the kind of the livelihood that are being practiced by different communities in our country as well as in the world. Now, as my colleague Professor Sarfraz was talking about how resources are being basically appropriated, manipulated, and be used for some profit by big companies all over the world. This is something a major concern that's been drawing concern from academics as well as policy makers. And he rightly said there's so much of power relations which are being involved in terms of controlling the resources. So we also need to pay attention how power relations to play out in terms of once again claiming the resources, using it, whether for particular group of people or for larger society. So I won't go into details of these power relations. I have limited time in my hand. So what I propose to do here is that I'll be presenting some data in terms of how the state of resources are there. Then I'll come to certain models in terms of understanding. Do have some option in terms of basically going through certain ways that can help us for attaining sustainable resource use. And finally, I'll basically come down from what we call as higher global scale to a micro level study of the Himalayas that we did as a part of the project that was being sponsored by Niti Aayog. So the entire presentation can be justified in the sense that we are talking about natural resources and the livelihood, which is very much kind of focus of this particular seminar. Can I have the next, and can I have the mic please, because I need to explain some of the... Okay. Yeah, can I have next slide please? Yes, what in fact all of us need to know is that whenever we talk about societies and the prosperity of the societies, it all depends on nature. In fact, when you consider how different groups of people are dependent on natural resources, so there is clear evidence which to suggest that poor people are disproportionately dependent on natural resources for their survival. Because unless they have natural resources, it's not possible to continue with the kind of livelihood that they practice. So we want to take note of the people and the different income group. So we who are sitting here may not be directly dependent on the resources, but since poor people are really dependent on this, that we have to basically distinguish. We also need to basically take note of the fact that we do talk a lot about sustainable development. But when it comes to sustainable practices, I think we completely ignore it. This morning only I was talking to some of the colleagues. So the lights which are being now kind of on in front of us, possibly you don't need these lights, why do you basically put it on? Why to unnecessarily consume energy when we can save it? Now, with this beautiful weather, I would request if possible to switch off these lights. So what we know that if we have to basically maintain the temperature which is required at 2 degrees centigrade, then it's extremely important that the kind of resources that we use, that needs to use in a very efficient way. Unless we can do this, it's not possible to attain this. And if you want to attain 1.5 degrees centigrade, then that's much more demanding, because that will require a substantial transition in terms of the materials that we use for the purpose. So, example, say I remember when we were kids, a smaller fridge will do. Now we go for 3-door fridge. I don't know 4-door fridge or 5-door fridge are there or not, but at least 3-door fridges are there. So as the income goes up, along with this, our demand for resources also goes up. Not only that, with the rise of income, what happens that our food habits also undergo tremendous changes. Because if you see how we consume resources today and how we used to do it 25 years back, I still remember that when we were in our villages, the packets of chips were not available at all. Now, all these are very easily available. So you can see the kind of transition that is taking place in terms of the way we use the resources. Now, similarly, what happens is that due to food habits, it's not that the
change which are occurring in the environment that's taking place at the point of consumption. Rather, the transformations are taking place far away from the places of consumption. One of the very good example of this is that with rising income in China, there is a greater demand for pork. Now, since the greater demand of pork, China is not in a position to supply pork to the people. Now, what do? They need to basically expand the entire market for pork. And for this, they need soybean, which is a staple food for the pigs. Now, China is not sufficient in terms of producing soybean in the one country. So what do? They import soybean from Brazil. So can you imagine that one change in food habit in China, there is a significant change in the land use that is taking place in far off countries like Brazil from China. So this kind of resource use that we do have a serious impact in terms of the kind of the world we live in and how environments are being impacted. Next slide, please. Whenever we talk about even say that the transition and awareness that we have in terms of using it more judiciously, in the last few decades, there have been significant increase in terms of the consumption of material resources all over the globe. So we are living at a time and in a globe where there's a significant rise and it's basically going exponentially in terms of the demands which is there for resources. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, one interesting thing is that we do talk about sustainable development goals. And when you consider all the sustainable development goals which are there, they are either directly or indirectly is related to the resource consumption. So there are certain goals which are directly related to say resource consumption, while there are a number of goals which are indirectly related. But if you want to attain this sustainable development goal, then it's extremely important that we need to have certain pathways that can help us in terms of bringing in the transition both in the consumption of resources. Next slide, please. So what's happening here is that say the processing of materials that we do make use of in our daily usage or in terms of production of different equipment are once again is kind of consuming loss of resources and is not confined to a particular country, rather is all across the globe. And now it's increasingly the developing part of the world, because as we invest more and more in the infrastructure, the infrastructure is very much demanding in terms of consuming resources. Whether you talk about construction of roads, whether you talk about construction of buildings, all these require a substantial amount of resources. So unless basically we can have certain technologies that can basically reduce the usage of this kind of material resources, the kind of goal that is set, particularly sustainable development goals, it may be possible to achieve. Next slide, please. I'll go to the kind of model. Can you please go next? Go next. Yes. This is a model I just used to. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know how far this is visible to all of you. It's not visible to me properly. These are three curves which have been shown in this particular graph. One is how sustainable resource use can be done. Here basically talking about how we can decouple resource use from basically production activities and how we can achieve the welfare of the people. Now, in this chart, show the different timelines that may be used in terms of achieving this. So what we mean by decoupling is that it's not that we don't want economic growth. We want economic growth, but we want to have economic growth which will be higher as compared to the resource consumption that we need for bringing in this economic growth. So what it means in other way is that the resource which is required for a particular level of economic growth would be less than what is there at a present point of time. So there's a different time kind of considerations are there in this particular model, and if you can follow this, it's possible that the scenario which is there now in terms of resource consumption may drastically change in next 60 years time. So we are talking about not coupling which is there. That means often we say that economic growth means having more and more consumption of resources. Rather, we want to have less consumption of resources but more economic growth, and that can be possible if we can follow certain pathways. Can we have the next one? Yeah. Okay. This is kind of model that tells us about how we can basically have different strategies so that we can attain the sustainable use of resources. So what we have here on the left side is resource intensive consumption and production. Then we have certain in the middle enabling condition that will help us to achieve this. And on the left side, what you see the green kind of box is sustainable consumption and production. That will basically, if we can provide certain enabling conditions. So this will help us in terms of having a stabilized situation in which the usage of the resources will be primarily aimed at the welfare of the people, possibly having a very less impact on the environment. Next one. Next one. Please go next. Yeah. So this is one thing. Once again, I just wish to discuss. This is talking about provisioning of the system for social well-being, and this kind of new model that has been basically proposed by Global Resources Outlook 2024. Here what we are talking about is at the bottom there are nature resources, and we need to extract certain nature resources for development. But what we need to do is that there has to be certain provisioning of the resources that are being used. So what we are doing here is that for different kind of sustainable development goals, we are using the resources very, very judiciously to attain this, and all this effect is possible that it can lead to well-being of the population. So I think I'll end here. I had some kind of study from kind of different Himalaya state, but I think due to lack of time, I'll stop here, and if there are some questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
So very fast, Professor Sohail has completed his presentation, and thank you very much. And in the summary, because we are already now you all are hungry. It was 1:30, so no problem. So all three panelists, they have very nice presentations on different issues, from West Bengal case study to Himalayan case study, and also the world as a whole, Professor Pras. So as a chair, I thank you very much for your very, very insightful presentations. And I thank you for the organizers for giving this opportunity. And thank you goes to all of you for patiently listening, all three panelists. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. One thing is there. So Indrajit wants to distribute certificate for the panelists. So Indrajit, come. Okay.
Okay, it is just a end session before the lunch. Now I am privileged to give the certificate to our chairperson of this plenary session, and he will deliver the certificate to all the panelists. So first, Professor Sohail Firdaus from Department of Geography, Sikkim Central University. Next, Professor A.K.M. Anarujjaman from the Department of Geography, Alia University, Kolkata. And next, Professor Sharfaraz Alam sir from the Department of Geography, Benares Hindu University, Benares. Yes. And last, I would like to give a certificate. I am very privileged to give the certificate, Professor Vishwanpur Prasad Sati sir, as a person of this plenary session.
ওদিকটা দিন
Okay, so now we are moving on towards lunch. So I request to everyone to go for the lunch. We will start our next technical session that 2:30 p.m. onwards in the department. Already the room has been given in the program schedule, so you kindly follow this. So our next technical session will start from 2:30 p.m. onwards. So I request to everyone, please come for the lunch. Thank you.
এখন গরম লাগছে আবার হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ সকালে কি রোদ রোদ সকালে ভারী কালকে কদিন থাকে আজকে আমি ছুটি উঠি বাদ হ্যাঁ কালকে তো ছুটি নেই নগর অফিসার নেই সেজন্য অনেক সময় পাওয়া যাবে কি করছিস এত তোরা এই মালদার কে আছো গো মালদার আছো তাহলে আমার হ্যাঁ কেউ নেই তোমরা কাকে দিই বলো চলো তাহলে তুমি শুনছিলে খুব ভালো করে তুমি না ঠিক আছে ঠিক ঠিক আছে হ্যাঁ 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 কোথায় দাঁড়াবো আচ্ছা
The night presentation, all presentations are really good. Today it would be better
শোনো না এই হালকা করে মিউজিক ছেড়ে দাও, হালকা করে। ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, রিপোর্ট রাইট। এখন চালিয়ে